Stephen King once wrote that nightmares exist outside of logic, and there's little fun to be had in explanations. They're antithetical to the poetry of fear.
Alan Wake is a meditation on the act of storytelling itself. Bright Falls, with its mist-shrouded forests and reflective lakes, is not merely a backdrop. It is a living, breathing embodiment of the writer's mind.
His face was covered in shadows. It was hard to make him out in the darkness of the forest that surrounded us, but the axe he lifted was plain to see. It glistened with the blood of his victim. He grinned madly. The shadows were alive, distorting his features. It was a scene from a nightmare, but I was awake.
Where the boundaries between fiction and reality blur, Alan Wake 2 expands this world. The dark place is no longer just a metaphorical space. It becomes a tangible landscape where narrative and reality intertwine. What happens when the story you're writing begins to write you in return? That is the question at the heart of both games. At its core, Alan Wake transforms a simple game mechanic into a narrative device. Light is survival, knowledge and metaphor. The taken, shrouded in darkness, dissolve under the flashlight's beam. Flare guns incinerate them, but every second spent in shadow increases tension, reminds the player that light is fragile, fleeting and vital. In Alan Wake 2, this mechanic evolves. Shadows respond dynamically, environments shift, and light becomes a tool not just for survival, but for shaping narrative reality. The darkness is no longer just a threat. It is a commentary on creativity, on the unknown consequences of writing. Alan Wake is a man trapped between worlds, a writer whose own creations have become chains. His greatest fear is losing control, and his greatest motivation is love. The disappearance of his wife, Alice, drives every step he takes. But Alan is never a simple hero archetype. He is flawed, obsessive, and painfully human. His thoughts, written and unspoken, shape the reality around him, making every choice weighty. His vulnerability, mental, emotional, and physical, pulls the player into his mind, creating empathy even as he confronts terror. Alan's is often absent, yet omnipresent. In Alan Wake 1, her disappearance sets the narrative in motion, but she's more than a plot device. She represents the stakes of creation and the human cost of obsession. Her absence is a ghostly pressure on Alan, influencing decisions, shaping fears, and deepening the narrative. In Alan Wake 2, her presence is subtle but pervasive. Memories, echoes, and environmental cues ensure she remains a character whose influence cannot be ignored. Mr. Scratch is Alan's dark doppelganger, a manifestation of his own suppressed fears, anger, and destructive impulses. Scratch is everything Alan could become if consumed by darkness, reckless, charismatic, and terrifyingly free of moral constraint. He challenges Alan not just physically, but psychologically, forcing both the character and the player to confront the consequences of fear and obsession. Scratch is a mirror, a caution, and a narrative engine. He drives chaos and forces Alan to reckon with the moral cost of survival and creation. Saga Anderson is the player's grounding perspective. As an FBI agent investigating ritualistic murders in Bright Falls, she embodies rationality amidst surreal horror. She's cautious, empathetic, and yet constantly confronted by phenomena that defy explanation. Saga's perspective highlights the consequences of creation from the outside, contrasting Alan's subjective experience with an objective lens. Her investigation threads provide balance, tension, and a human anchor to the chaos unfolding in the dark place. Thomas Zane exists as both mentor and warning. His cryptic messages ethereal presence, and the remnants of his manuscripts serve as a reflection of the power and peril of writing. Zane embodies the writer's dilemma. Creation is liberation and prison simultaneously. In both games, his spectral guidance constantly reminds Alan and the player of the consequences of narrative, reinforcing that stories, once unleashed, cannot be contained. Together, those characters form a web of narrative tension. Alan's obsession, Alice's haunting influence, Saga's investigative lens, and Zane's cryptic guidance all converge to make the story psychologically immersive. Each interaction mirrors the act of writing itself. Every word, every choice, and every moment carries consequence, reflecting both the beauty and terror inherent in creation. What truly separates Alan Wake from other survival horror games is its meta-narrative. The story is self-aware in a way few games dare to explore. Manuscript pages appear, predict events, and manipulate the world around Alan. You won't simply play a story, you are entwined within it. Every page you discovered, every paragraph that glows on the typewriter actively reshapes the reality you navigate. In Alan Wake 2, this self-awareness deepens. The dark place itself responds to both Alan's and Saga's actions, bending space and time to reflect narrative decisions. What the player does or fails to do alters the fabric of the story itself.
The dark presence is out there. It's hunting me. Its spies are always watching. It's trying to catch me. I think it did more than once. It's stealing from me. Stealing my identity. It wants to be me. Replace me. Twisted version of me.
Alan Wake is more than survival horror. It is an exploration of human psyche under pressure. Themes of fear, obsession, guilt, and the consequences of creativity permeate both games. In the first game, Alan wrestles with darkness outside and within, his own obsession manifesting as external threats. The sequel pushes this further. The dark place becomes a reflection of Alan's mind, blending nightmares with reality in ways that challenge both character and player. Dual perspectives, Alan in the dark place and Saga in the real world, create a psychological tension that few games achieve. The player constantly questions what is real, what is imagined, and what is written.
This isn't your story. It never was your story. The story is a monster. The story will eat you alive. The darkness is coming. The darkness inside.
Horror in Alan Wake is never gratuitous. It is deliberate and purposeful. The Taken are frightening not because they are grotesque, but because their existence is tied to narrative logic. They are manifestations of Alan's writing and fears. Every encounter reinforces tension, suspense, and narrative stakes. Alan Wake 2 expands this concept. The horror evolves with the story, and a dark place becomes a mirror of Alan's creative and emotional state. Players navigate both tangible and psychological threats simultaneously, creating horror that is as cerebral as it is visceral.
It's Scratch! There's no time to lose!
You're going nowhere. Stay here.
No, wait! I need a gun!
No chance.
Alan Wake's mastery is not only in its story or mechanics, but in how it presents them. The cinematography mimics film language. Long tracking shots, deliberate framing, and careful focus draw the player's eye while heightening suspense. Lighting is compositional, shadows are narrative, and the camera itself becomes a storytelling instrument. In Alan Wake 2, this approach is amplified. The dark place warps perspective, creating visual dissonance that mirrors Alan's fractured psyche. Every composition is designed to evoke unease, to tell a story silently while leaving room for interpretation. Part of what makes Alan Wake unforgettable is what it hides beneath the surface. Manuscript pages, cryptic radios, environmental details, they're not just collectibles. They're fragments of consciousness, pulling players deeper into the story. Alan Wake 2 takes this farther, connecting threads between both games and rewarding fans who read between the lines. The lore doesn't end with the credits. It lives on through theories, discoveries, and the community itself. Remedy's cinematic approach makes every frame count. The camera moves like it's part of the story. Long pans, off-center framing, deliberate lighting. In Alan Wake 2, the camera bends and warps with the dark place itself, turning visual distortion into storytelling. Shadows aren't just atmosphere, they're language. Sound design completes the illusion. Every creak, every gust of wind, every moment of silence serves purpose. Alan Wake 2 layers two worlds of sound, the surreal echoes of the dark place and the grounded ambience of Saga's investigation, creating unease even when nothing's happening. The structure mirrors TV, episodes, cliffhangers, recaps. That pacing keeps tension alive, giving players time to breathe before the next descent. Alan Wake 2 evolves this rhythm, switching between perspectives to keep you off balance, as if the story itself is editing around you. And when you compare them side by side, it's clear how much Remedy grew. The first game was about fear and discovery, the second about consequence and control. The mechanics, the writing, the very use of light and darkness, everything evolved into something sharper, more self-aware. Alan Wake isn't just a survival horror series, it's a reflection on authorship, creation, and the stories that refuse to die. Remedy didn't make a sequel, they made a mirror. And once you've stared into it, once you've walked through bright falls in a dark place, the story never really lets you go. Part of Alan Wake's lasting impact comes from its layers of hidden content. Manuscript fragments, collectibles, and subtle environment cues are not simply optional. They add narrative depth, reveal character backstories, and reward exploration. Alan Wake 2 builds upon this, creating narrative web that connects both games, teases future events, and encourages fan speculation. The community's engagement, decoding hidden messages, connecting lore, theorizing about the dark place, becomes part of the story's living ecosystem. The games do not end when the credits roll. The narrative continues in the player's mind and imagination. If you felt this one, let me know in the comments. What moment from Alan Wake hit you the hardest? And if you want more deep dives into games that don't just tell stories, but become them, subscribe and stick around. We're only just getting started. As usual, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace!
It's not a loop. It's a spiral.